Shalom everybody, welcome to SIMB TV. And for those of you who are new in this channel, I'm Reverend Edmund Smith and I happen to be a pastor as well, and I'm an ex-transgender. So that may sound a bit peculiar to some of you, a pastor being an ex-transgender, an ex-transgender being a pastor. Well, that's me, that's my story, and I am running this YouTube channel simply because I believe that the voice of an ex-transgender should be shared in the YouTube world. It's been a while since I've made a YouTube channel like this, and I guess the last time I made a video like this was before I went to New Zealand. And while I was in New Zealand, I made 2 or 3 simple ad hoc videos, which I hope you guys did check out. Anyway, this video I'm making is actually a part 2 of a video that I made sometime back, about a month ago I think. It's regarding my sexual orientation, which is the demisexual orientation. And from that video had caused a lot of concerns, a lot of question marks, and well, it's good to receive questions and concerns after watching my video. It shows that people are interested, people are watching. My videos are not just there and nothing is happening. I like it when people watch my video and they have questions coming out of that video, concerns and whatsoever. So the title of this video is, let me see, I wrote this in my book, My Demisexual Orientation, Part 2. So for those of you who have not watched that video, the part 1 of this video, I'll put the link in my description below and you can watch it so that you can get clearer. Before I go on with this video, to kind of try to resolve the queries and concerns of those out there after watching that part 1 of my video, let me just define a demisexual orientation. Okay, a demisexual orientation is one of those many orientations out there, and it's basically mean that a person who only is able to be sexually attracted to someone else after developing a deep emotional connection, which is a bit different from all of the other sexual orientation, like the heterosexual orientation, the homosexual orientation, the bisexual orientation. There is a little similarity between the demisexual orientation and the asexual orientation. So for me right now, I actually have a demisexual orientation, which means I'm only able to be sexually attracted to the person that I'm deeply emotionally involved. And am I sad that I have this orientation? Am I frustrated? To me, no. It's a positive sexual orientation. In fact, I'm glad I've arrived at this place. And to me, I'm not being biased just because I have this sexual orientation, but to me, this is like the best sexual orientation ever. I have experienced a change of orientation. I started off as an adolescent. I was very clear. I had a typical homosexual orientation. And my orientation just evolved and changed. I went from one orientation to another, and to the point where I am today as an adult, a 47-year-old adult, I have a demisexual orientation. For some of you, even the term sexual orientation is something new to you. Sexual orientation simply means sexual preference. Just as we all have meat orientation. Some people like fish, some people like chicken, some people like duck, some people like pork, whatsoever. That is your meat orientation, and how you came about having that natural liking or preference for that meat. It's all because of the experience you have had in your past, and that had brought you to where you are today. So in the same way, your sexual preference, you have it because of all that you've been through. From a time, even it's connected to your childhood all the way to your upbringing, to many things that brings you to the point of having that particular sexual orientation that you have right now. And if you are a human being and not an angel, you have a sexual orientation. You can be 16 or 60, you will have a sexual orientation. And the thing is, it's a fact that sexual orientation is changeable. And let me tell you this, sexual orientation is not sexual lifestyle. Sexual lifestyle is what you do with your sexuality. Sexual orientation is what are you feeling in terms of your sexuality. So there are two different things. In fact, your whole sexuality can be put into a word, this acronym that I use, which is OIL, O-I-L. O stands for orientation, which is preference. I stands for identity, how you identify yourself. L stands for lifestyle. And why oil? It's so significant because oil is fluid. Our sexuality is, like it or not, it's fluid. It's like oil. It's changeable. It's difficult to put in a box. Yes. So yeah, that's it's a very appropriate acronym, OIL, oil, because our sexuality, like it or not, is fluid. I wish it isn't, but it is. And denial is fatal. So you pretend like it's not fluid, then you're not being realistic. So OIL, oil, orientation, preference. I, identity, what you identify yourself to be, and L, lifestyle. So that's the whole sexuality can be put into that three different compartments, but they are one that makes up your sexuality. Okay, let's go back to my demisexual orientation. And one of the biggest query is this. I started off with a homosexual orientation, and I ended up with, right now, as where I am right now in my life journey, I have a demisexual orientation, and I am basically a person who's able to be sexually attracted to someone only after a very deep emotional connection. But in between the homosexual orientation, of which I started with, to where I am today, this demisexual orientation, there were many different orientation that I've experienced in my life journey. I remember experiencing having a bisexual orientation. I remember having a heterosexual orientation. Then some people will say, what happened? You went from a lot of people say this. It's great that you went from a homosexual to bisexual, but going from having a heterosexual orientation to a demisexual orientation, they felt that's not a good move. But first and foremost, let me tell you, wherever you arrived at your sexual orientation is not something you choose. The things that you do with your life, your sexual lifestyle, all that is a choice. But what orientation you have come at in your life journey is not a choice you make. So if I have a demisexual orientation and I tell you I have a heterosexual orientation or a homosexual, I'm a biggest liar. And lying is not of God. So the first thing first, you have to be truthful according to what sexual orientation you have. And as for me, if I told you that I have anything else besides a demisexual orientation, then I'm a liar. And I am no liar because I'm a child of God and lying is not my style. So truth, Reverend Edmund Lawrence Smith have a demisexual orientation. So the question would be, some people say, did you adopt? No, I did not adopt this sexual orientation. It is things that I've been through, issues I've resolved, experience I have gone through, have led me to where I am. Just the same as with you who are listening to this, who's watching to this video right now. Sexual orientation is changeable. It's fluid. And I thank God that I have this sexual orientation. So the question is, if you have watched my old videos, you would have heard me mention, probably in some videos I would mention I had a bisexual orientation, and some I had a heterosexual orientation. So how did it happen? Okay, not many of you who's watching this video know the whole of my story. So if you want to understand my life, you want to know my story better, so watch my other videos or even read the book that I wrote. I wrote a book entitled She Is My Brother. So yeah, do this stuff to actually know me better. Or even you can leave some comments at the bottom of this video to ask your questions, and I'll do my best to respond to your questions in the comment section below. You see, I struggled with a severe masculine vacuum issue, and some of you know that. And what is a vacuum issue? Is basically a great emptiness, a desire to be loved. So some people have a feminine vacuum issue, mean they have an emptiness, they have a desire to be loved by of women, or you know, and for some they have a great emptiness and have a great desire to be loved by men. So that's for those with a great desire, the emptiness, to be loved by men. We call that a masculine vacuum issue. So I had, sorry, not have, I had a severe masculine vacuum issue. Never been loved by my father as a child, as a baby. Never been loved by my brothers. Never experienced love from any male in my life journey. And that's why at the age of 13, at the young age of 13, I started having sex with men. And reason would be because as most human, not all, but at least most, we are confused. We think that sex is love and love is sex. I went looking for love, but I did not receive love. I did not receive masculine love, but instead I received masculine sex. So the men did not offer me love, but they offered me sex. And yeah, I was sexually involved with hundreds of men from the time I was 13 all the way to 24. Yeah, and then in that span of between 13 to 24, I only fell in love 3 times. So many sexual partners involved in sex with many men, but fell in love only 3 times. My first, second, and third boyfriend. And in those three relationships, I received some masculine love, but a lot of confusion, a lot of drama, a lot of bitterness. Yeah, and especially with my and in that life, my life as a trans, my life as a gay. After that, you know, I was even raped by a man. So besides having a severe masculine vacuum issue, I at the end of the day, I actually developed something else that is a masculine barrier issue. So there are 3 types of issues that I teach a lot about. I even wrote it in my books. I've mentioned it in some of my videos. The self issue, the vacuum issue, and the barrier issue. So besides having a masculine vacuum issue, I at the end of the day, at the end of my gay life, by the time I was 24, I did not just have a severe masculine vacuum issue. I also had a severe masculine barrier issue. Here I'm desiring for men's love in a severely, I was empty of male love. At the same time, I had this wall that has come by because of my rape experience, because of the lack of understanding the abuse I received from men. I developed the masculine barrier issue. So it's crazy to be like a person who needed men's love, but now I'm like a hatred towards men. So how did that work? So all that in my past had caused me a lot of confusion. See, when I was 25, I got born again. I became a real Christian at 25. 24, I became an ex-gay. At 21, I became an ex-trans. Different chapters of my life. 21, ex-trans. 24, ex-gay. 25, I got born again. So I became a Christian much later. No, and me being an ex-trans and ex-gay has nothing to do with Christianity. You know, but of course my journey began much later as a born-again Christian. So when I was 25, and I began a deep relationship with Christ, you know, as an ex-gay. And God told me, they said, you know, God revealed this to me. And for those who don't know, you need to know that God is able to speak. God is real, He's alive, He's not dead. And God revealed this to me. He says, you have a masculine vacuum issue, and God, in all these terms, came to me by divine revelation. All the terms that I used, got one by one. The self issue, vacuum issue, barrier issue, you can't find it anywhere else, because I was the one who came out with it with them. And where did those terms and all those explanation came from? It's divine revelation. So God told me this: you have a masculine vacuum issue, and you can't run away from the truth that you need men. You need men to come into your life. In the past, men came into your life as lovers, but now men's going to come into your life as fathers, as brothers, as sons. And you're going to allow me, God said, you're going to allow me to handpick men and send and put them in your life to love you. Of course, there are many men. All there were 12 men altogether at different seasons of my life that God brought into my life. 12, and the first 6 were training ground. I was learning how to look at men. So there were many mistakes in my first 6 men that I shared in my life. I'm not saying the 7 to 12 men after that, it was perfect. It's not perfect, but it was much better. I was stronger. I understood better what it means to have men as my fathers, my brothers, my sons, instead of lovers. Yeah, so there were many mistakes made in the first six men of my life, as God brought them into my life to just love me, to just fill me with love, but not sex, but love. So yeah, but while I was being filled with love, I struggled a lot, not just because I was like this vacuum cleaner trying to suck them into my life, but at the same time I was struggling with, I don't trust them, I hate them, they want to abuse me and stuff. So I came to a place of like, men was second best species on earth. I don't trust them. So my mind was beginning to focus on my wife, who was present. For those who don't know, my wife is Pastor Amanda. She was there. So like, she was there in my life. She was loving me. She was the best thing that ever happened to me. She was present. She was pouring all the feminine love in my life. So I came to a place, even though I needed men, but I hated men. I never trusted men, So I became more of someone who, and at the same time I knew that I needed men to be in my life, because God clearly showed me that. So that was the season when I actually developed a heterosexual orientation. Men was not part of I was sharing DPR with men for them to fill me up, but at the same time, I did not trust them. I did not want them, but God insisted that they should be in my life. Thank God for that. Because today I'm in a place where I've resolved my masculine vacuum issue totally. I've been set free from that. In fact, to be honest, I've been set free from all of my 3 trigger issues that I mentioned earlier: the self, the vacuum, the barrier. The Lord has just used the right people in my life to just help me resolve. I've been set free totally from all those 3 issues, which I had each one of them severely in the past. So that's how, if you're wondering how I ended up with that heterosexual orientation, because men was not, there was a long season in my life, men was only used by God to just pour love into my life, but for me to open my heart to them was a challenge. But man number 7, man number 8, man number 9, and all the way to man number 12, which is, for those of you who know him, is Deacon Stefan. He's a man I've cut a covenant with. He is my brother today. We've got a covenant. We are God brothers. He's my DPR. He's like the best man out of the 12. He's not perfect. We still have challenges. There's no human relationship without challenges, but truly he is the best. Okay. So I've come to this place where I've resolved this barrier issue, this masculine barrier issue, just as the Lord had used my wife, Pastor Amanda, to help me resolve my severe feminine barrier issue. I used to have a severe feminine barrier issue and I resolved that long time ago, and by the time I was 5 years after I got married, I totally resolved that feminine barrier issue that I had, which was caused actually primarily due to the broken relationship I had with my mother. So Pastor Mender was used by God to resolve my that feminine barrier issue. In a similar way, the Lord has used Deacon Stefan, to resolve my masculine barrier issue. So when my barrier issue towards a masculine barrier issue was resolved, then I realized I'm totally able to love men again. So that's why it went from a heterosexual orientation to a demisexual orientation. I understand that now, because I also was wondering, how did that happen? I went from having a homosexual orientation to having a bisexual orientation, You know, there was little different orientation in between, but the clear ones are this. I went from a homosexual or having a homosexual orientation to a bisexual having a bisexual orientation to having a heterosexual orientation, and now to having a demisexual orientation, which is amazing. You know, and obviously I'm not going to be sexually involved with men for various reasons. It's not going to happen. First and foremost, the man that I'm close with, who is Deacon Stefan, he has a heterosexual orientation. That's one reason, but that's not just that. Secondly, because I am a lover of Jesus, you know, and I will never ever be in a lifestyle that is not of God. It's not going to happen. Our sexual lifestyle, what we choose for our life, be it sexually or any aspect of our life, it's very much related to our intimacy with Christ. You know, our sexual orientation is just part of the reason why you choose your lifestyle. You know, lifestyle, sexual lifestyle, whatever kind of lifestyle is a choice. And our lifestyle is not determined just by our orientation. Our lifestyle is determined by our orientation, our intimacy with God, our morals, and so much more. So for those of you who are like, oh, he has a demisexual orientation, so he's going to end up having a homosexual with Deacon Stefan. Listen, that's totally, absolutely rubbish. First and foremost, he is a man with a heterosexual orientation. If he's going to choose a sexual lifestyle, for now he has chosen a celibate lifestyle, meaning he's not involved in any sexual activities, okay? But if he ever going to choose a sexual lifestyle besides celibacy, it's going to be a heterosexual lifestyle, because he is a typical heterosexual man, unlike all the other 11 men in my life. All the other 11 men that God had used to fill me up with a masculine love, my ex-DPR, none of them had a typical heterosexual orientation except Deacon Stefan. So it's never going to happen, you know. And I'm glad that my masculine barrier issue has come tumbling down, and I thank God for Deacon Stefan. Today, you know, there's no barriers towards men at all, and it's all related to not just Deacon Stefan but all the other men as well. God had put 12 good men in my life, not perfect but good men in my life, and helped me to just be filled with masculine love, and also to demolish that wall of masculine barrier in my life. For those of us who are thinking that, hey, a demisexual orientation is not biblical, there's no such thing. That's a wrong statement. The Bible doesn't speak about any type of sexual orientation. I might have used the wrong word. I might have said, oh, there's only 2 types of sexual orientation in the Bible. But that's not accurate. Actually, there's only 2 types of sexual lifestyle in the Bible. Biblically speaking, there is no sexual orientation. Biblically speaking, there's only 2 types of sexual lifestyle. Number 1, the celibate lifestyle, and number 2, the heterosexual lifestyle. Any other kind of sexual lifestyle is not in the Bible, is not biblical. Only these 2. And as for sexual orientation, does the Bible speak about sexual orientation? No. The Bible only speaks about sexual lifestyle. So I hope I'm clearing the air, you know, with this many things I'm saying. And I'm not, as I always say, I'm not here to confuse you. I'm here to clarify things. I'm here to educate you. You know, I am, it's my calling to teach on sexuality. And my calling is to help people see clearly what God's intention in the area of sexuality, not to confuse anyone. And of course, there are people with different belief system in the area of sexuality. And if you asking me where I get my belief system, primarily it's from God's word. Secondly, it's from my own experience, because I was sexually broken and today I'm sexually redeemed. Right? So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask me. You know, so what is my sexual orientation? It's a beautiful demisexual orientation. Is it biblical or not? The Bible doesn't speak about it. Right? Let me just look in my notes. I actually wrote a few things so that I will not miss out in this video. I said about that. Yeah. So nothing to be alarmed. All right. God bless you. Hope you have benefited from this video. Yep. If you think that the voice of an ex-trans woman should be in the YouTube world, please subscribe. Okay. I've reached 200 subscribers. My next goal is to reach 300 subscribers. And don't just subscribe. Tell the good people out there in your life, your family, your friends, your church members to subscribe too. Share the videos. Give me a thumbs like for the videos that you like. Yep. And drop by with a comment to encourage me. I'm just like you, a human who need encouragement. Shalom. God bless you. Bye bye.